Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Over the Curve podcast, a Formula One podcast for fans, old and new, by Formula One fans, old and new. Joining me again today is my very dear friend, Honey Badger. How are you doing, ma'am?
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hi. Again, it's a pleasure to be on this podcast, as always. Yeah, I'm doing good and just waiting for the weekend. A lot of things are going on this weekend. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. But we start today's episode a little further back in time, and we talk about the FIA report that came out of the investigation conducted for the controversial events of Abu Dhabi 2021, an event that we have categorically not discussed on this podcast ever.
And
Made it
probably
a,
we are not going to discuss it also.
yes, we both have intense PTSD from that event. Okay, so the FIA report's key points were that human error led to the fact that not all cars were allowed to unlap themselves. Previous discussions that made clear the Formula One stakeholders' preference to end races under green flag racing conditions. The results were declared valid, final, and cannot now be changed. The final lap radio message between Red Bull, Mercedes, and Masi had a negative impact on final laps and were a distraction for the race directors. And apparent from the analysis that there could be different interpretations of Article 48.12 and 48.13 of the Formula One sporting regulations, and that this likely contributed to the applied procedure. The article obviously refers to the the point that states that any car lapped by the leader can be allowed to unlap themselves under a safety car. And the entire discussion was that any does not mean all. So, on that, what are your thoughts?
I have told it in the earlier episodes also. It seems so silly that considering the grammar of the statement and making it a big thing, all is not equal to any, and all of the statements given by Red Bull and Mercedes, and all the things that happened, it was actually everything. If you clearly analyze it, it's all up to Michael Masi, who horribly failed to you know officiate the race properly. It was a, I wouldn't, so the FIA, which they have said is human error, I think that's true, but there's nothing much you can do about it. They kept dragging this controversy late into the until the start of the season actually. So I felt it could have ended it in 2021 itself, and we would have got a closure. But any which way, now at least we got the closure, and I don't know what to make out of this, because feels so weird. This from the last 2 to 3 years, this discussion has been going on between the teams and FIA
Hmm.
regarding the gray area of the rules, and how are they penalizing the drivers for particular mistakes and everything.
Right.
And you know, when Charlie Whiting was there, it was all going smooth, and the problems have become worse only after Michael Masi took over. You can clearly, infer that he has been the problem all this way long, and this is the biggest mistake he has made in his career, I would say. So, which is why it's the reason for him to be out of F1 right now.
I mean, he's not out of F1. He's not a racing director. I think he's working in the safety capacity somewhere in VFI. So he's still very much within the machinery. He's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
not part of. He's not the racing director anymore. But
But
yeah, I think I agree with you. problems were always there, and I think this is where the FIA should have taken some steps to remedy the situation, because Michael Massey was people act, or rather I would say fans act as if this is the only mistake that Michael Massey made.
Yeah,
There were
it's
consistently there were inconsistencies in the penalizing and penalties that were being given out for a
right.
lot of the things that were happening on track, and the drivers had been very vocal about it. And even last year we saw Fernando Alonso exploiting the gray areas of the sporting regulations so well.
Exactly. And just go back a couple of races in the Brazil 2021 itself, you can see the turn four incident between Lewis and Max. And I thought that was a clear cut penalty for Max, but it was just termed as a racing incident. I don't know why.
The dive bombing, right? The diving thing to retain his position.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is,
yeah. Both going off the track.
yeah,
And why do team principals have just very bad last season? So Michael Massey being a race director, giving options for the team principals to choose whether they want this or they want this. Well, it just doesn't make any sense. Just make a decision and throw over to the team, right? Just order them, right? You don't need to give them a choice. You are
yeah,
the racing director. You should order them. You shouldn't give a choice to. Okay, which one do you feel better? This one or this one? So please take this one. This is better for you. Oh, I didn't want all these conversations, and glad that you know, they kind of facilitated this conversation so during the race for the fans.
yeah. I think a lot of outrage also started because these FIA messages, the FIA radio started getting broadcasted along. This wasn't something that was part of the broadcast before. And I think it was Christian Horner or Toto, either of the team principals, who said that this is something that has been going on for a very long time. You're just hearing it for the first time. When the outrage against it started, that was what the team principals said. They said that this has been going on for a while, this has been going on since ages, you're just hearing it for the first time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's where my point is. See, this has been going since ages, but why do race directors give a choice rather than order? That's what my point is, whole.
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be a limited amount of time over the course of a race that the team principals can talk to the racing director. That's the only way we could. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm hoping that the new directors are up to the task. And I think one good thing is that there are now two people who will be like co-race directors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Two people.
So I think that should be easier, because, or it could be worse, because what if they have a difference of opinion? They waste the entire race just arguing about it. I don't know.
So the until unless you make the rules clear and you fill the gaps in those uh, uh, the holes which you have in the rules, until unless this happens, you cannot come up with good decisions, even though you have two or three or four race directors per race.
Yeah, and I don't think there has been a substantial amount of time spent on making sure that the regulations are clear. As of now, the only regulations that they have uh, changed are the regulations that created the problems last year. So there was the regulation regarding Spa because of what happened in Spa. They changed that. So they made it so that there must be at least two laps that happen without being in a safety car. With, like, there must be two laps that happen that are not behind safety car for a Prix to be considered like a valid race, because of what happened in Spa last year.
Yes, yes.
I still think that's too less. You can't do anything in 2 laps.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there should be a better provision, because can you imagine people who are spending like 300, 400 euros to buy a ticket? They're not there to see 2 laps. They're there to see a 70 lap race.
I'll come to that. I have a little bit of complaint about F1 and its CEO and which direction he's taking the sport into. We'll come to that. And
Okay.
the next rule is the uh, overtaking of the track, right?
Yeah, the track limits.
Track limits.
I'm yet to see proper application and implementation of the rule. I think we talked about it in the Bahrain race review. There were some that were not deleted. There were some that were deleted. Uh, I'll give the new directors the benefit of the doubt that this is their first race, but I shouldn't be, because they're race directors. They're not a rookie driver in their first Formula One
Yeah,
race.
exactly.
Yeah, but I guess we'll find out. But my problem is that 2021 and Michael Massey has set the bar so low that anything even a little bit better than that will be considered good.
Will be considered decent at least.
Yes, exactly. And that's my biggest concern. Like, if Michael Massey has set the bar at 10% and the new directors do 30%, it's better, but technically you're still doing less than half of what is required of you. So
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, the new, and I think we'll get more insights and more understanding of how these new racing directors will make their decisions once we start getting racing incidents or crashes or anything that happens and incidents go under investigation. Bahrain was a pretty clean race. There was only one penalty given out to Ocon,
Of course, yeah.
which was essentially a racing incident.
First lap should have been a first lap racing incident, but anyway, it's 50-50.
It's
It can
50-50.
be 50-50.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we'll see. But yeah, you have thoughts about Stefano, and let's dive into it. So Stefano Domenicali has said that, first, there are more teams trying to enter F1, but he does not think that that is an avenue where F1 needs to grow. And there are so many countries who are interested in hosting a Formula One race that there is a potential to have a 30 race calendar. 30 race calendar. As much as I love watching Formula One races, I can't dedicate 30 weekends of my life to it.
Okay. Go on and tell all your views about this. I'll tell mine later.
So, 30 race calendar. I mean, if you look at Middle East and US, that will cover somewhere around some. So, uh, my thought is that if 30 race weekend is something that the FIA and F1 want to consider, they need to be smart about it. Like, if you want to have a calendar like that, just make sure that you're covering things together. Like, if you're going for a race in the North American subcontinent, then make sure you cover everything there. You do Kota, you do Miami, you do Vegas, you do Montreal, Mexico, Brazil. That's 6 races where you don't have to travel a lot. The drivers and the teams don't need to suffer through like jet lag and the tiredness that comes with switching multiple time zones. If you can't be that strategic about it, I think 30 race calendar is a monstrosity.
exactly.
What are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are, first of all, Stefano saying that it would he's considering a 30 race calendar means that there will be at least more three races in Middle East countries and at least three more in US.
Yeah,
Now, my complaint is, why does US need like three, four, or five races per season, where the the American, why do we need F1 in a country who thinks F1 is just going around in circles? That's my major complaint. Second thing, why do we need to race in Middle East countries where there is suppression of rights and everything? And F1 being a global sport and trying to promote, uh, uh, you know, uh, racism has to end, and everything, anti-racism and everything, being a global sport and promoting that for every race, why do we have to go to Middle Eastern countries where there are no basic rights? So I'm not bringing these political views into the sport, but it's what they are doing actually. Now,
mm,
if you are bringing a political opinion into the sport, then bring
yeah,
all or nothing. That's it.
yeah,
And my third complaint is, let's say if we have 30 races per year, a team like Mercedes or a Ferrari or a Red Bull serves it. It can rotate their staff easily because they have huge staff working for them. But how come a team like Haas or Williams
yeah,
do the job efficiently over a 30 race calendar compared to 21 or 22 race calendar? It will be very hard for them to, I know you can manage some things by, clubbing the races together by, geographically,
yeah,
so that you don't have much of uh, logistics and all.
mm,
But the problem is fatigue. Also, you have to take into consideration.
right.
And I don't think team principals will accept for this change. Actually, I think 21, 22 races are good per season, but I prefer having more teams than more races.
Yeah, same. Like, even if you look at the current calendar, last year we had 22 races that started from March and went on till mid December. This year we
Yeah,
have 23 races that go on from mid of March till mid of November. You're already crunching so many races together, and there are some of the races, the way they've planned the calendar. So you have Emilia Romagna in April, and then you go to
yeah,
Miami, and then you come back to Spain. Doesn't make sense. Then you do Spain, Monaco, Azerbaijan, then you go to Canada, and then you come back for British.
yeah, yeah.
Like, it does not make sense. And now with the Russian GP getting cancelled, there are we don't know which race is going to be replacing uh, Russian GP. Since before that we'll be in Italy, okay, in a way Turkey can make sense. Or even if a German track is ready to host a race, please Germany, listen to our please. Please host a race in your country. Your tracks are awesome.
Hockenheim, Hockenheim, please, Hockenheim.
Either Nürburgring is also fine with me. Just race in Germany. And Germany is a good option. Turkey can be a good option. Uh, but after that, we're going to Singapore and Japan. So even Malaysia is a good option. So,
You
like,
know
you have to be
the
strategic about it.
it seems so ironic, the country which is centered around motorsport and automobile, having huge automobile industry and automobile companies not hosting an F1 race. Isn't that so ironic?
From what I remember, Germany said that they don't have enough promoters because there is a substantial amount of cost involved in hosting a formula. Why do you think there are so many races happening in Middle East, right? cash is king is another reason why we are still racing in Saudi, but we'll get to that. And that's what it is. And Germany is like, look, man, we are not going to put in so much money and effort for just hosting a race. It's become more and more expensive now to host a Formula One race. And I think Germany is like, I think it's because Germany knows that they have the upper hand because fans love their tracks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's why Germany can be like, dude, your call. We are not going to invest so much money. Um, but I don't know which track replaces Russia. And with these contracts with the tracks that the F1 is making, there are so many longer contract extensions that have happened with so many of these countries where the races are happening. My
Yeah, yeah.
concern is that there is not going to be a lot of rotation. I think rather than having a 30 race calendar, you have you define a set number of races that are going to happen, be it for the history, be it because the tracks are good, whatever. And then the remaining, you keep on changing, right? That
Yeah.
keeps a freshness in the sport. Now coming
Okay,
to
okay.
the okay, do you have anything more to add on this?
Yeah, I want to hold here for a sec and ask you this question.
Okay.
So, would you prefer a 1 year long season or 2 year long season?
Hmm. Two 2 year long 2 year would be too long. I would say a 15 month or
Okay,
something like
okay,
that.
okay. What about 6 months and 15 months?
6 months and 15 months.
Yeah,
Nah, man, I want the current thing. Have some 20 odd races, keep switching the calendar, like keep changing it, keep your some dedicated tracks, and then the other ones just keep on rotating. The talks about Spa getting Spa might get replaced after 2023, or even Silverstone getting replaced to host more races in Middle East and the US. I'm sorry, that does not sit right with me.
nope.
You make such a big deal, like the FIA, the F1, the drivers, the teams make such a big deal out of all these are like legendary tracks, right? There is a reason the cars have become so much wider, but we are still racing in Monaco because of all the history and everything. And it's just the biggest snooze fest of a race that I've ever seen in
Yeah,
Monaco. So there are, it's not like you're not doing races in these tracks just solely because of the history. And now you're talking about Spa and Silverstone getting replaced because what, you get more money in Middle East. You can't have your cake and eat it too. At some point or the other, you have to take a stand. And if moving away from tracks that have a historical importance in the history of Formula One is an option, the first track to go should be Monaco. That track cannot be changed, and I have nothing but love for the heritage. And sorry, Charles, I know it's your home race, but you have to accept that is such a boring race. Like, I understand the thrill the drivers get because it's such a tight track and such tight corners and everything, but of all the people that watch Formula One, there is a very small percentage that is actually there in Monaco, watching the race live and then having to, like, getting to enjoy the after party and whatever. Majority people sitting at home are not having fun watching the Monaco GP.
exactly. Yeah, fair points.
So you said that you would prefer having more teams on the grid rather than more races.
Yeah, yeah.
So first, so now I have two questions. How many teams would you prefer? And do you think there should be a corresponding change in the number of points given to the position? Like, do the positions that get points should change if there are more teams in Formula One?
So I want 15 teams with 30 drivers on the grid.
Okay.
Why I'm telling this is because there are a lot of drivers in F2 who weren't able to get into F1 because of the holding up of seats by people like Lance Stroll, Nikita, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Now, if there were more teams, we would have got they would have got the chances into F1. There are quite a few drivers who are very talented. Theo Porcher being 17-year-old, 18-year-old, he has been driving crazy. He was good last season in F2,
Hmm.
and we have seen Oscar Piastri winning F2. We
Right.
saw Robert Schwartzman giving a good fight to Mick Schumacher in F2. So there are these talented drivers, young drivers coming up, but they don't have enough space in F1 to drive. So I would prefer a 15 team grid and with 30 driver grid.
Hmm.
And coming to the points, yeah, I think the first 15 should get points.
I'm so glad we agree on this. Yeah, I think so because I'm watching the older seasons right now, there are
24.
24 cars,
Yeah.
but the points are only given to the top 10. And I think like there is less, but then again, like 4 cars does not make a difference. But yeah, I think 15 teams, whether we'll get 15 teams, like 5 extra teams, I don't know. But I mean, clearly the interest is there because Mr. Stefano has said that there are teams who want to enter. Andretti has
Yeah.
been the loudest about their intentions, but there are some other teams that are trying to enter. And yeah, I think I agree. And I don't think these teams even need to be like a sister team or like a prepping academy for any of the bigger teams. I think these teams can be their own thing. And yeah, I mean, I would love to see Toyota back. I would love to see Audi and Andretti can
Oh,
also come. Acha,
yeah. I heard that Porsche has been trying for so long to enter into F1, but don't know what are they up to.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I only want them to come in if they're going to bring in their own engine. We
That's
need
what
more engine providers on
that's
track.
what their plan is actually.
Yeah, we need more engine providers uh on track. I with so Renault has its own engine. Otherwise, it's just Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull powertrains,
Yeah.
quote unquote. So yeah, I think a mix of engine providers is also going to make the sport more competitive because these engine providers that we have right now, they are going to have to put in a lot more effort into their developments as well because suddenly there's going to be an upsurge of competition.
Yeah. Fair points.
Yeah, 30 race calendar is okay. So now another question to you.
Okay.
If the FIA were to hear our pleas and say that, okay, out of, so we'll have a, since they want to increase the number of races, we'll have a 25 race calendar, out of which
Okay.
15 races are your fixed legacy tracks and 10 would be rotating, right?
Okay.
Which
Okay.
15 legacy tracks would you want?
Okay. Yeah. I think this is easy.
Go for it.
I would start with Australia,
Okay.
Australia, Bahrain, China, Azerbaijan, Spain, Monaco, Canada. I would keep France for now.
Okay. You're up
Yeah,
to 8.
France, 8. Yeah, and France. Next, I would go with Silverstone,
Silverstone. Okay.
Silverstone, and Hungary, of course.
Hmm.
Hungary, and then what do we have? Hockenheim.
Hockenheim, okay. Spa.
Hockenheim. Yeah, Hockenheim, Spa, Monza.
Monza.
How many? How many till now?
13 over, 2 left.
Spa, Monza, Brazil,
Oh, yeah. Interlagos.
Brazil, and Mexico.
Mexico. Okay. This is a much better calendar. See, I'm already excited about this. And I love the fact that there is no quota here. There is no Middle Eastern tracks. There is, yeah. I love this is a good season. All these tracks are amazing,
Yeah.
with the exception of
So
Monaco, but like it's history. What can we do?
you can, I think you can take off Mexico and you can go for Istanbul Park. That's a
Oh,
better track than Mexico.
Istanbul. Okay.
Turkey.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a good calendar, and I think there has to be, like, FIA should start doing this, right? At the start of every season, you define your set number of legacy tracks that are going to host a race, and then open a vote for the general population. What do the fans want to see? Where do the fans want to see racing? And then work the entire year to make sure that they are able to fulfill as much of it as possible. I'm not saying that it's going to be 100% possible every single time, but that can be a good option. And what do you think? Like,
Yeah. That's what I thought.
yeah,
Actually,
at,
there should be a fan vote.
yep. Stop doing driver of the day, guys. Do
Stop doing
this.
driver of the day. Yes.
Driver of the day does not mean anything. Kimi Raikkonen got driver of the day in Abu Dhabi when he crashed. So driver of the day does not mean anything. Okay, so is there anything else
No,
on this
nothing,
topic?
nothing,
No.
nothing left.
So now we move on to the shit show that is happening right now in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. But hold on. Before we go to that, I have a couple of news from last week.
Oh yeah, driver reactions.
Yeah. I have driver reactions. So some of the drivers were interviewed on what did they feel about racing under new regulations and how did they feel about racing experience.
Hmm.
So K-Mag was K-Mag completely loved it.
Okay.
He was saying that there will be more closer racing at some particular tracks where we don't expect a closer racing to happen.
Okay. That's good to
And
know.
yeah. And he also said that slipstream effect is less, but DRS effect is more.
Okay.
And he also told that it's not easier to overtake, but it's easier to follow the car in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's from KMAG. And Ocon says
Hmm.
same thing, that the slipstream effect is reduced, but DRS still powerful. But he didn't feel it like it was. He didn't feel it as big as previous years.
Yeah, because he's an Alpine.
Exactly. So, so his fellow driver Alonso,
Yeah.
he told that following the car is definitely easier, but overtaking is not easy as it looks on TV. And here comes the best part. He feels it just because cars being generally fast than their cars or being on fresher tires.
Yeah, I mean, he's in an Alpine.
Exactly. So these guys love the following the cars and close racing and stuff. But guess what? Who didn't like it? The new
Lewis
regulations.
Hamilton.
No. You're wrong this time. It was Lando
Max?
Norris.
Oh, Lando.
Lando
Oh,
said it was tough. It wasn't good as I was expecting, which is frustrating. I was expecting a little bit more. So that was his reaction.
Yeah, it just reminding me of like Fernando Alonso coming on the McLaren radio and saying GP2 engine. That's what Bahrain was for McLaren. Yeah, no shit, Lando Norris.
Exactly.
imagine, imagine topping the test in Barcelona and then coming to Bahrain. But I mean, I think McLaren issues are temporary. There is potential in that car.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll
so
see. We'll see.
Lando Norris, hold on to your hopes. It is going to get better. We are rooting for you. Also,
And
Danny Rick is better than you.
okay, okay. And I have to mention this statement made by Lewis, and I feel it's right.
Okay.
He was talking about their performance in the and that whole Red Bull double DNFs.
Mm.
He told, of course, we are fortunate, but ultimately we have done a better job. We have better reliability. So I wouldn't say that it's luck.
Mm.
I think that this is the hard work of everyone,
Yeah.
which is, I feel, right.
Yeah. There is still a little bit of luck involved, but yeah, I think uh, Red Bull does seem to be having reliability issues.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's one more Mercedes news saying that Toto Wolff has told media that we need to analyze the drag levels before we really make a judgment of the whether they're lacking the power or not.
Mm.
So he feels that power unit has everything. They still have the base, but it's the drag levels that are making the car less competitive. So let's see
Yeah.
what do you think really Mercedes will bring some new updates this weekend?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this weekend. Mm, but the from what I saw in the practices, the Mercedes porpoising problem only occurs on eighth gear.
Okay.
Like largely, it is a speed induced effect.
Yeah,
Up
yeah, yeah.
until seventh, it's okay. I think it's manageable, but eighth it really gets in the zone, and even Ferrari was facing a lot of it during practice yesterday.
Yeah, I am afraid to learn that Ferrari is facing the same issue. It's getting tense now for me.
Yeah, I think this entire season I'm just gonna pray that Ferrari does not do Ferrari things and fuck it up the Ferrari way. That's going to be my prayer all year long.
I wish. I wish.
No, because I want more constructors to be competing for the championship,
Yeah, yeah,
and anyone but Max, anyone but Red Bull,
yeah. That's going to be my agenda this season. Anyone but Max.
anyone but anyone but Red Bull, anyone but Max.
Anyone but Max.
I can't like. I mean,
Okay, okay. We should
we
not go
should
into
not.
that zone again.
We should not. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, that's where my loyalties are.
Okay. Moving on.
Going on to what happened yesterday in Saudi Arabia after free practice 2. So free practice 2 was delayed by 15 minutes because there was a meeting that happened between the FIA personnel, the team principals, and the drivers to update them about the conditions in Saudi Arabia. So for those who don't know, there during FP1, there was a bombing that happened, a missile attack on an Aramco facility around 10 kilometers away from the Formula One track. And naturally, it's a big concern. The war between Yemen and Saudi is taking a very dangerous turn. And so there was a meeting that happened between FP2 and Stefano. And the FIA said that uh, for now, we go racing, they have assurances from the highest level of authorities that there is no danger on the track. After FP2, though, there was another meeting that happened, and it was more led by the drivers this time. The meeting lasted for over 4 hours, and I think by the end of it, the consensus was still that for now we go racing.
It's pretty intense.
My only problem with this is when the war in Ukraine started, the FIA was very quick to cancel the Russian GP. The drivers were very quick to say, and Sebastian Vettel, he has our heart. Sebastian Vettel said that even if the FIA decides to go to Russia, he will not be driving there. So you would have seen Nico Hulkenberg come back, had there been a race in Russia. But the FIA was prompt to cancel that race. But yesterday, while it was giving me a lot of Australia 2020 vibes, it did not end up happening. And my problem is that this situation in Saudi, it did not start happening yesterday. It's been happening for a while. Why is it so hard to take a stance for Middle Eastern wars? Because the FIA is looking a little bit racist now, because European lies, yeah, we can't race in Russia. This is not right. Middle Eastern wars, man, cash is king.
Cash is king.
Cash is king.
Yeah, even I'm not liking that fact.
That track sucks.
See, there is nothing competitive in the track. It's a bullshit track, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that track. It looks very dangerous. And
Very, you know, they have So they have installed some screens apparently to increase the visibility for the drivers. But
what,
you know,
like a concave mirror that we have in parking lots? What are you?
I hope not. I hope not. So some F2 drivers were interviewed after their session, yesterday qualifying session, and they were asked about their feelings towards those visibility some things.
Yeah, I think it's turn 3 or 4, and then somewhere towards I think turn 3, 4, 21 and 24.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't remember. But anyway, it's a shitty track.
So all the drivers, they told that, oh, but they were installed. We didn't feel any difference.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one driver, he said that I was too busy driving. I couldn't give a shit to that.
Yeah, because it's a very fast track and pretty similar to Monaco in terms of how fast things are coming at you and how much of a, like, you have to be 100% focused. But we've seen last year, the first time we went racing in Jeddah, we've seen how dangerous a track it is, and now it's not just dangerous because of what can happen on track.
Exactly. See, as much as I love crazy racing, I don't want driver safety to be at risk.
Yeah, same. And it's not, you have to understand, it's not just the drivers, right? It's drivers, the teams in themselves. Like, there are so many mechanics that always travel with this entire circus, and there are just so many lives at stake there. And what is it going to be, a no-fly zone? A no-fly zone does not guarantee that it cannot be hit by something.
Exactly. Yesterday we were able to see the smokes also when the cars are coming out from the last corner, I guess. You can see the cloud of smoke far away from the track.
Yes, and it's such an intensive sport. And I think Max Verstappen was the one who said that he could smell the smoke while he was driving in his cockpit and whatnot. And do you really want drivers to be smoking, to be inhaling that sort of an air while they're trying to keep their cars on track and not getting punted into a wall? It's such a, like, I understand the FIA wants crazier, closer racing, but this is taking it to, this is becoming extreme sports now. This is not Formula One.
Exactly.
Like my point is, like, one last thing I would like to say is that the decision to not race in Saudi should have been taken the same way the decision to not race in Russia was taken. The
For
situation in
sure.
Saudi has not arisen in these last couple of days. So if somebody thinks that, oh, but people did not know, no, the Western media does not highlight Middle Eastern crisis. That is the problem. But the FIA, when you're taking like some 100, 200, 300 people out there and hosting an event, you have to be sure of
Their
what the
safety.
political situation in that country is. And no matter how much money you are making out of this event, it surely cannot surpass the cost of human life. And it's not like it cannot be done, because we saw it in Australia 2020. People did, like, the drivers did raise concerns, but not until it was too late. 2020 Australian GP was cancelled after McLaren, people from the McLaren crew got tested positive for corona.
I
So
was I was there. As much as I hate to see it happen, but that's
yes,
okay.
yes, we have somebody reporting live from the ground. So yeah, you were there. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we weren't friends then.
Exactly.
We became friends after. But yeah, so I still, I mean, and I want to say it is good to see the drivers taking a stand. Like, you have to understand, the meeting concluded somewhere around 4:30 a.m. local time there in Saudi. These drivers are so set in their schedules. They have to be well rested and everything before they go out on track the next day. Kudos to the driver to stay up and be at it. And I don't know what the conversation happened in that room, because it was close to reporters and everything. But I'm very happy to see that the drivers are taking a much more stronger stance,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that these
4 hours is not a joke.
is not a joke. And another thing that I want to say is that there are, so according to the new regulations, you need to have at least 12 cars starting
Yeah, yeah.
to
Starting
call it
starting the race. Yes, yes, yes.
starting the race to call it a Grand Prix, unless the FIA changes the regulation. If there are more than 8 drivers who say that they don't feel safe or they don't feel right racing there, it's not just about feeling safe. Because I can't believe it was so easy for them to cancel the Russian GP.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it cost a driver his seat. It was a shitty driver, but still it cost somebody their seat.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's not like they've not taken these stances. From what I could gather, there was a similar kind of a strike that happened in 1982 in South Africa.
okay.
Yeah, so I think it was again during the party time, and the drivers had a strike, and they said that they will not race or something like that. And so it's not like it can't be done. The FIA are not doing a good job to become likable again. There are just so many things that what happened last year and then what we're seeing now. I'm just not comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even me too. I'm not comfortable with the direction this sport is going in.
Let's talk about what do we expect from teams, considering there is nothing that happens during the race and everything goes but before we get into that, um, there are some so there was a report issued by the FIA that said who will be using what new components this weekend. And apparently, Lando Norris will be starting with a new gearbox case and cassette, and gearbox, driveline, gear change components, and auxiliary components. I think he's just technically starting with an entire new gearbox, and so is Pierre Gasly. So there is a quota of 4 allowed this season, and Pierre and Lando are now on their second. Fernando Alonso and Pierre Gasly are getting a new ICE, internal combustion
Combustion
engine.
engine. Yeah.
New turbocharger is for Sergio, Fernando, and Gasly. I mean, it's not surprising that Gasly is going for all of this, considering that last race his car caught on fire.
Yeah. So that's a complete internal fry up, actually.
Yeah. New MGUH, Sergio,
Mhm.
Fernando, and Pierre. MGUK, Fernando, and Pierre. So these components, there are 3 allowed, and these drivers are on their second. There are new energy store and new control electronics being used by Pierre Gasly. There is only a quota of 2 allowed for it, and Pierre has used his quota now. And Pierre and Fernando are also starting with a new exhaust system. So it seems like Fernando Alonso and Pierre Gasly are getting like an entirely new power unit. And
Yeah.
Sergio Perez, who DNF'd in the last race, is getting an MGU-H and a turbocharger, and Lando Norris with a new gearbox. So, with that out of the way, what are we expecting from this race?
I expect nothing more than a safe race. That's it. That's my thing.
We pray for a safe race. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't care who wins, but I do have some predictions. But I really don't care about this TP. I really don't care who wins here. I really don't care what's happening at the. Really don't like what's happening at the track right now with the drivers and the whole situation in there near Jeddah.
Yeah, I'm not 100% comfortable with this weekend as well. But for now, we race. Okay, so I think Mercedes are on their way to come back at, I mean, in closer contention with Ferrari and Red Bull, but it's still going to be uh, difficult for them. But the thing about this track is that the starts can be crazy,
We,
and
we we have seen it. We have seen it last year. Three
we
starts.
3 starts. So the starts can be crazy, and there is a potential that some of the leaders may also get wiped out. Ferrari seem to be having a lot of problems with their cars. At least I know that Charles retired from FP2 13 minutes before. There was some
Uh,
problem with Carlos as well. Tsunoda towards the end of FP2 also had some issues with his car. So let's see. Reliability seems to be a problem. Add to it that the track is crazy fast and not the safest, both in terms of on track and what is happening around the track.
exactly.
Yeah, I think this has the potential of, like, this race can be the equivalent of, you know, the rain being an equalizer concept. Like, this is the dry version of it, because this track is crazy and not in a
Crazy.
good way.
Not at all. Not at all. And we
So
felt it the last time also, right? Whenever
yeah,
we saw it for the first time on the TV, we felt it like, oh, this is so dangerous. I remember watching the qualifying session, and you have to give way to the cars on the hot lap. I was thinking, how do these cars go through blind corners? How can you see the cars coming out of the blind corners? It's very dangerous actually. Even to see it on the TV also, it was very dangerous. I don't know why they're still racing here tomorrow.
and I mean, I think last year, even while the race was going on, Max Verstappen did say that the The standing starts are very, very dangerous on that track. And I mean, we saw that there were some 4, 5 cars that were out of the race very early on.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, what can we do? Catch this
just
game.
hope for a safe race, and let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. So what are your expectations from the teams?
I think Mercedes will improve this weekend, and Red Bull will kill it this weekend,
Okay.
as they did last year. Like Max was on course to setting a historic lap, and then he crashed last year
Hmm.
in the last corner. So I think he's very strong on this track.
Okay.
That this track kind of suits their car really well. So I think Red Bull will dominate here.
Okay.
I heard it somewhere that someone said it, or I read it somewhere that Alfa Romeo is not going to be competitive this season. I mean, not before this race.
I mean, Bottas finished third in FP1, but I mean, we know practices are not, they're not a good representation of what is going to happen in the race. But I mean, we'll find out. We'll find out
We'll
soon
find out.
enough.
We'll see.
Qualifying is too late for our time, but it is what it is. That's how the problem is, because I was thinking, I was like, how is it that Silverstone and any other European race is still at a decent time? And then I realized that Jeddah is a night race. You have to wait for night to happen in Jeddah to start racing, and that's why the race is going to start at 10:30, which is, I sound like an old person, but it's way past my bedtime on Sunday.
Yeah, it's problematic for everyone, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, so let's okay, before we move on, there is one more thing, and this is a Twitter conversation that started happening. I don't know what caused it, but drivers being allowed to race if they have asymptomatic COVID. Your thoughts?
Senseless, absolutely senseless.
Has somebody who got
I
COVID
mean,
because of an asymptomatic bastard?
okay.
No.
I mean, how can you even consider? How can you even, remotely consider the thought?
Yeah, and people's argument is that, oh, but for flu you take a flu shot and you go. Yeah, but it's flu. Like, there is a lot of herd immunity because flu has existed in the world for a very long time. Like, we have evolved, and it's better for us to live with um and I mean, I don't even know what the Americans called flu, because for us it is normal cough and cold, right? That is what flu is. And I think half the time we don't even go to a doctor. At least I don't, but then I rarely get sick.
Yeah,
But I mean, we anyways have like a lot of home remedies and this and that and whatnot. So however extreme flu is, I don't think COVID and flu are a fair comparison. First. Second, despite vaccination, despite booster dose, despite everything, any country right now in the world that has eased their restrictions is again facing a surge in cases. It's
exactly.
China, it's UK, it's Germany. Sure, living with COVID is going to be a reality. It is the new reality, but that does not mean that you knowingly put people in risk. I understand somebody being asymptomatic and not knowing that they are asymptomatic, and then going and just coming in contact with people and blah blah blah, but not in this setting. And it's not just about the drivers, it's not just about others safety, it's also COVID affects your lungs very, very badly. And there, you need time to recover. For any athlete, your stamina, your endurance is important. And for all of those things, you need oxygen. And you know what gives oxygen to your blood and your body? Your lungs. Lungs are important, guys. They are not appendix. They are important. Please stop making these comparisons. Please stop saying
You know,
Missing a race or two is not the end of the world. Wearing a mask is not the end of the world. Please mask up, take your precautions, and stop making ridiculous comments on Twitter.
you know, these kind of statements, prove that with the, you know, as the technology gets better, the idiocracy also is getting more and more in this
Worse.
world.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
yeah, and I told you guys I was in this Twitter war with this person, and there were a lot of drivers who were of the opinion that they should be allowed to race even if they are asymptomatic. To all those drivers, I say, please change your stance. Please change your stance. I don't want to hate anybody, but I will not stand for stupidity. This is like asking me to support anti-vaxxers. No, I will not. It's scientifically proven. Vaccines work. Anybody who's an anti-vaxxer, Joko, you don't have my support anymore.
okay,
I think we've almost covered everything. So let's move to predictions.
predicts.
What are your predictions?
My predictions are okay for P1, P2, P3, Max for P1, Lewis P2, Charles P3.
Did your heart break saying
No, no,
that?
no, 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 no.
Okay.
And for the fastest lap, I would say Carlos. General predictions would be, I think, at least two safety cars, Williams to score points, and Alonso out, Alonso DNF.
Man, lot of Alpine. Okay, no, not a lot of Alpine. So I'll also cover our very good friend Kramer and our very good friend Shakuni's predictions. So Kramer predicted for the podium Charles Hamilton Max. He says fastest lap will go to Max, and his general predictions are Gasly in top five, no Haas in Q3, and at least one Alpine DNF.
Okay.
So, and Shakuni's predictions are podium Max Charles Perez, fastest lap to Max, and his general predictions are both McLaren in points, Alfa Romeo out of points, and Stroll beats Hulkenberg.
Ooh,
Shakuni, whenever you
nice.
listen to this episode, fuck you, man. Hulk above everybody.
Are you going to do that Ricardo style?
Nico, you can pick.
Okay, okay. What are your predictions?
My predictions, man, I have to think, but I think unfortunately Max wins the race.
All right.
Second, I would say Lewis. Third, Carlos. Sorry, I still have my faith in Carlos. Fastest lap goes to Russell, and I predict at least one red flag in the race. At least one Red Bull DNF. Chaos in the first
Lap one,
lap. Chaos
lap
in lap
35,
one.
lap
Lap
27.
one. Lap one. Lap one.
Okay.
Is going to be chaos down in lap one. And that is going to cause my red flag. And in that chaos, one Red Bull with DNF. See how I played it there?
No, but how do you define chaos? It would be subjective, right?
Chaos is basically any big crash. Big crash,
No.
big crash, big
Again,
crash, big crash.
how do you quantify its big crash?
Okay, crash in lap one. Okay.
Ah, then it's fine.
I just used a fancier C word.
Okay.
Just wanted me to. They both five letter. They both start with C, but chaos is not okay with you. You wanted crash. Here it is. Crash
I,
in lap
I
one.
I just want it to be more objective.
Okay. I think that brings us to the end of this episode of Over the Curve podcast. Thanks, man, for joining.
Yeah, this
Thank
was fun.
you. Thank you, Kramer, for being the silent participant of this episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode. If you like the episode, please leave us a rating, like, share it with your friends. If if you have any feedbacks, if there is anything you want us to cover, Or if you want to be a part of the podcast, find us on our socials. We are on Instagram at Over the Curb Podcast and on Twitter at Over the Curb Pod. You can also write to us on our Gmail address, over the curb podcast @ gmail.com. Thank you, everybody. And we will be back for our race review. We just hope and pray that everybody has a safe weekend in Saudi. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye bye.